Tonight's agenda has also been circulated. Are there any corrections or additions to tonight's agenda? Senator Mulhall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to change the date at the top of the agenda from January 28th to February 4th.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. If there are no objections, the amendment will be approved. Seeing none, it's adopted. Any other corrections or additions to tonight's agenda? Seeing none, the agenda as amended has been approved. We will now move on to open forum this evening. Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to address the Senate? Seeing none, we'll now move on to our two special events this evening. So we'll start with Adam Burke, who is the Assistant Director of Campus Recreation.
Good evening, everybody. Like I said, my name is Adam Burke. I'm the Assistant Director over in Campus Recreation. I focus on programming over in Campus Recreation. So the areas that I directly work with are intramural sports, club sports, and our outdoor program. Kind of what I'm going to talk about a little bit tonight is I'm just going to highlight kind of overview of Half Acre in general, the programs, the services, the participation, kind of where we were sitting at this point in time in the semester and the year. I'm going to try to be interactive, so I'm going to ask you all to participate. If you don't participate, there's going to be a lot of me standing here staring at you, so I encourage you to participate. Just kind of make sure that we're all on the same page and you all know the work that is going on over there. So, in Campus Recreation, the department is made up of 7 different program areas. Can anybody name one of them? I'm gonna have you shout out a program area. I'm gonna talk about it, and we're going to the next one. Hint: I've already told you 3 of them. So, throw out a program area.
Intramurals.
Okay, we'll start with club sports. So, the club sport program is made up of 20 separate RSOs. Those 20 clubs have to apply for access to join the club sport program based on a set of criteria in our handbook, kind of elevated pieces. Those 20 clubs have over 600 members in them. They put on about 300 annual events. Currently this year we're at about 235. This is our slow part of the year because it's cold outside. So you don't see a lot of our field sports or outdoor sports really going yet. So our rugbies, our soccers, our baseball and softball, all those outdoor sports, they won't really get going this semester until it starts to warm up in April. We're at about 235 events so far, 600 participants. We have more participants signed up this year than we did last year. And so that's pretty exciting in club sports. I heard intramurals. Our intramural program, we offer about 55 different intramural events a year. For this spring, we have about 35 events scheduled. Some of those are leagues, some of those are tournaments, some of those are single day. So right now we have registration open for 5v5 basketball, which is a league, 3 weeks regular season and then playoffs. We also have registration open for inner tube water polo. It's water polo, but you play in an inner tube. It's a ton of fun. And then table tennis singles is happening this Thursday night. And registration's open there as well. So last year we had about 2,100 unique participants. So 2,100 different students came and participated at least once. Total participants, so some folks that participated in multiple things, we were at about 4,800. So a significant chunk of the student population on campus is participating at least one time. You know, almost a quarter of the population is participating at least one time in intramurals. And we pride ourselves on being able to offer something for everyone. So they're also free for the most part. There's a couple that have nominal fees, like golf. It's $10 for 9 holes. Golf, however, you can't go play golf for $10 for 9 holes any other time of the year. So we try to help subsidize that cost. Okay, other program areas. The Wellness Center. Great. So the Wellness Center that's located within Half Acre has several different areas that they kind of operate in. They have the HOPES program, which is the healthy options for the prevention and education of substances, which is kind of a mouthful. But really what it is it's about upstream prevention of alcohol and drug use. And so alcohol EDU and SAPU are run through that program that all first-year students have to take. We have a suicide prevention coordinator in the Wellness Center who works on educating our campus by providing gatekeepers training, doing initiatives with federal grant money to bring things like gun locks and whatnot on campus and to educate and provide around that. We have athletic training services that are open and free to all students. They serve our club sport program pretty heavily with concussion baselines and injury care, but it's also open to any student who may need it. And then the Wellness Center also looks at 7 dimensions of wellness. So we're looking at things like stress and nutrition, meditation, all of those types of pieces. We have 31 different programs scheduled for this spring around those 7 different dimensions of wellness. Okay, other areas.
Outdoor program.
The outdoor program. So the outdoor program, I'll start by work with the outdoor program, but we want to start by thanking you all for your generous support this year with the funding. You all helped us purchase new mountain bikes for trekking and some new fat bikes for programs. We did our first full fat bike program this last weekend. We had 6 people show up, which is all of our fat bikes, which we've never been able to do before. And they stayed out 2 hours longer than they were scheduled to stay out. So, they had a great time. And that's your all's support. Thank you for that. But we offer we have 63 outdoor program trips, experiences, education happening this spring. So it's a lot. We have everything from fly tying happening now to fat biking and skiing and bike maintenance, and then some big spring break trips and those types of things. So a lot going on in the outdoor program. Again, we really thank you guys for your support. The outdoor program actually got started in the sense that it is now, back in 1999, from ASUW. So really it's ASUW that's kind of to thank for what the outdoor program is now. Funding from you all over the years has been a tremendous support in the equipment, the rentals, and our ability to program what we do. So we want to thank you for that. Other program areas. We're almost there. Keep going. What else do we got?
Fitness classes.
Fitness, yeah, it's great. So we have a fitness program. They offer both group fitness and personal training. We have 63 group fitness classes per week this spring. And that number kind of shifts and flows based on instructors and availability and whatnot. But this spring we have 63 different classes. New this spring we have a TRX class that we're offering, and we're offering some more structured kind of drop-in circuit training. So you can go to the second floor, we have a circuit up there, there's instructions, and you can kind of work through the different machines to get your own kind of workout on your own time through our fitness program. So there's 2 more. What else? We've got an aquatics program, right? So we operate 2 swimming pools on campus. One is in Half Acre that's currently going through a tile renovation. It was supposed to be done by now, but renovations always take longer than what you plan, no matter your intentions. So we'll have all new tile in the Half Acre pool ready to go. We're hoping to be open by the end of February to have a Half Acre pool back open. And we also operate the Corbett pool, which is also the varsity swimming pool. And so that pool is open every night for drop-in swim. That's where energy water polo will be, some of that kind of stuff. So we operate those 2 swimming pools. We staff them with lifeguards, all that kind of stuff. We offer Boga Fit, which you all helped us fund last year, which is essentially like yoga on inflatable yoga boards in the swimming pool. That's a collaboration between our aquatics program and our fitness program. So that's currently going on over at Corbett. It's usually in half acre. Last one, probably the most obvious.
The gym.
Just the gym. We call it open recreation, but it's just really drop-in, right? There's something to be said about a program area that's meant for informal recreation. Everything we've talked up to this point is really structured, right? Something you have to go participate in. But a large chunk of our users just come in and work out or use services or do things on their own. And that's super important for developing community and engagement and just a healthy lifestyle and well-being on campus. So drop-in recreation is super important. Today we had, yesterday, we had 2,052 people swipe their ID to get into our building. So people don't swipe in to come into the outdoor program. People don't swipe in to go into the wellness center. So that's over 2,000 people swiped into our building just to come informally work out or use a fitness class or something of that nature, which is pretty incredible. It's a pretty incredible number. So that's kind of the 7 different areas in which we do, and a little bit about what's going on this spring. Does anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts?
Any questions for our first special event speaker? Senator Applegate?
Sure. So I don't know if this is under your scope or not, or if you know any information about this.
Sure.
But I understand for that the Zumba instructors that they now have to pay for their certification for every like 6 months or so, and it's like an unexpected cost for them, and they're kind of struggling with that. So I was wondering, is there any measures where you're going to ask for funding from ASUW to help with these instructors and payments for their certification?
Sure. So it's a little bit out of my expertise, but some of our fitness programs require certifications in order for you to be an instructor. And Zumba is not unique in that sense. Boga Fit instructors have certifications, Zumba, cycling, all of our yoga people have to have certifications. And at this point in time, those certifications are partially subsidized by the department, however, not fully subsidized. And so that is a cost of being an employee, is to maintain your certification to be able to teach those specific classes.
So it falls on the employee.
It falls on the employee partially. Yeah. So, and that's not that it helps, it's not new. It's been like that for a long time. But that's kind of my extent of my knowledge on it.
Is there room for a change for that?
Yeah, I think there's always room for change and growth. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Ex officio from Non-Traditional Student Council?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering, over last semester, there were a few times where the outdoor program worked with multicultural affairs, and I was just wondering if there was more plans for that, or if like you feel like really excited about that, or if that's kind of like a multicultural affairs has to like collaborate with you in order for that to happen.
Yeah, so we're super excited about it. We're trying to find ways to partner with groups that may be non-traditional users in the outdoor space. If you look at the national trends, a lot of people that are recreating in the outdoors tend to be more affluent, they tend to be white, and they tend to have access to equipment, right? And so that provides barriers that are challenges. And so we're trying to find groups that we can engage in meaningful ways to get them outside. And so we partnered with Multicultural Affairs, partnering with Veterans Services to get help get some veterans outside. And then we partner with the Native American Summer Institute to help provide some summer programming for them as well. It's an area that we want to keep continuing to grow and explore. We think there's a lot of potential there to expose and educate people about how to recreate safely outdoors, especially being in Laramie, Wyoming, where we have access to such great outdoor resources. That's something that we want to just continue to do. So it is a collaboration, it is a partnership between our offices. And frankly, all of the things that we do, there has to be buy-in from both sides. And so offices on campus that work with specific groups, whoever they may be, have an ability to market and engage their students in unique ways. And for our programming to be successful, we need to rely on our colleagues to help engage them and to bring them in. And we feel that through what we're offering, if we can get them in the door one time, they're going to want to come back on their own. And that's an exciting proposition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Advisor Lozano?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Burke, thanks for being here. As you know, I worked at Half Acre when I was a graduate student. I wondered if you could just share a little bit about employment opportunities that exist for students.
Sure, that's a great point, thanks. We employ about 250 students. So we are one of the largest student employers on campus outside of Housing and Dining. We have positions available all across the board. I'm going to be a little selfish because we're currently hiring intramural officials. So if anybody is a basketball person, I would love to have you. But we hire it's a student-run building, and they're student-run programs. Our club sports are student-run, intramurals are student-run. We have professional staff, but we don't have enough professional staff to be there at all times. And so our building is really student-run, student-driven. And so all of these program areas employ students. If there's something that you're interested in, or people that you know are interested in other students, we tend to always be hiring, whether it's folks in graphic design and marketing, or officiating, or fitness, or lifeguards, right? We're hiring kind of across the board for different skill sets. And having over 250 employees, there's kind of an opportunity for everybody. But yeah, so we are student-driven, and our students are the ones who really decide a lot of our policies and procedures. We have a student advisory board that all half-acre policies and procedures that want to be changed have to go through that student council. That student council ultimately votes on the policies and the changes happening in the department. So definitely student-driven, and student leadership and student success is a major cornerstone of why we do what we do. Employment engagement is super important, both for the students, but also for the experiences that our patrons are able to get while they're there.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Dorn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As a previous speaker mentioned, getting certifications to be able to have the job, would you say that you compensate those employees higher than if they were to get just a normal job, per se, in dining services, because they have to pay that extra expense to be employed by you?
Yes, our fitness instructors, especially for the ones that have certifications, get paid more than our I can't really talk about I don't know what pay rates on campus look like, but they get paid more than other employees within our building based on their certifications. A major aspect of it, though, is managing risk and the safety of our patrons. And we want to make sure that we're providing really high-quality programs across all of our areas, but they first and foremost have to be safe. We have to make sure that if we're providing opportunities, whether it's a fitness class, a group fitness class, personal training, or an outdoor program experience, that it's safe, number one. And so all of our outdoor program trip leaders are required to have at minimum a wilderness first aid certification. That again, we help subsidize, but we don't pay for the entire certification. That's to make sure that if there was an accident, injury, or incident that happened while we're out in the field, away from hospitals, potentially out of cell phone range, that the individuals have the proper training to make sure that our patrons and students are safe. And so that's always number one. High quality programming that's safe. And then we believe that we compensate our staff fairly. So.
Thank you. Any other questions for our first special event? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
With that, we'll now move on to our second special event of the evening. So I'll welcome up our Director of Government Relations, Meredith Acey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Meredith Acey, and as the
Chairman stated, I am the Director for Government Relations for the University of Wyoming. I have held this position for about a little over a year and a half, 2 years in April. But before that, I worked for the university. So this is going to be my 5th legislative session where I will be involved in government relations for the university. So I've talked to some of you before, and I know that some of you have been over to Cheyenne to discuss ASUW and student interest with our legislators, and that's where I'll focus my attention tonight. Please feel free to interrupt with questions if that's okay. I'd like for this to be less formal, and I'll be pretty quick. So just starting out, I won't get into the structure of our legislature or any of that background information. I'm sure you all know that. But what I will talk about is kind of the process, and specifically the process that will go into this session because it's a budget session. So the state of Wyoming adopts a 2-year or biennial budget. And so any state money is allocated for a 2-year period. So with state agencies, they really look out those 2 years and have to be very organized in asking for what they need for a 2-year cycle. The University of Wyoming is a little bit different because we are on an annual budget. So we basically work with the state. We get general fund money from the state in what we call our block grant. And then we take our block grant and then we allocate that on an annual basis. So it's a little awkward, I won't say awkward, it's a little confusing, but really the budget is incredibly important to the university. We get a significant portion of our operating budget from the state of Wyoming. The state of Wyoming is incredibly generous to our university, probably more generous than any other state in the nation. So we're very, very lucky that we have supportive legislators and a supportive governor to the university. So with the budget process, it goes like this. The programs, the divisions, the directors, the deans will all meet in May and June with the president and with the board of trustees. Now what they do is they compile a list of requests for extra money. So money beyond what they're spending today. They want it a little bit extra. Now what we're spending today, as far as the state system goes, we call our standard budget. Anything extra is going to be called an exception request. And that's really where my work comes in on a typical budget cycle. Typically, agencies or the university are granted that standard budget. Now when we're in times of budget cuts, that's when we really have to defend our standard budget as well. Luckily, we're not there yet as the state of Wyoming. For this year, we're really talking about exception requests. So in May, June, they work with the trustees to develop that list of requests. That list goes to the trustees. The trustees adopt that list. And then it comes to the president's office. I work with the president's office and the budget office to compile what we call the budget request. Sorry. And then that budget request goes to the governor. The governor reviews the budget request from the university and all other state agencies or people who typically get state general funds. And the governor comes out with a recommendation, a recommended budget, where he either supports or denies, or recommends support or denial of all the different requests. So we've been through that process. During that process, the governor meets with everyone who has submitted a budget request, and we talk about our needs, and then the governor provides his budget. Once the governor provides his budget, it goes to the Joint Appropriations Committee. That's the committee that is responsible, as their name states, for appropriation. And so that committee is incredibly powerful in divvying out what state general funds they have. So, very interesting committee. So we've already been through that process. It was the 17th of January, they did what's called budget markups, and that's when they make the changes to the governor's recommended budget. So now we're through that process. This coming Friday, the Joint Appropriations Committee will come back together and they'll vote on a budget bill. Their budget bill will then go to both houses in mirror form. So the same bill will go to the House and the Senate. And it'll get worked through those houses by the different members of those bodies. And then at the end of that, they come back together in what's called a joint conference committee. That joint conference committee works together to try to smooth out some of the differences between the House and the Senate. And then once that committee has done its work, the Houses have adopted the work of that committee, then it goes to the governor. The governor then has line item veto authority where he can scratch out any part of the budget. After that happens, it can go back to the Houses for override of vetoes. So that's the process of the budget. This year is a budget session. Typically, those budget sessions have been 20 days. However, the last budget session was so strapped for time that the legislature has made some moves to allow 24 days for this budget session. So this will be the first budget session since I've been paying attention that will have 24 days. So it'll be a little bit more interesting to see whether we're still real strapped for time or whether those extra 4 days really do make a difference. So that's the budget. I don't know how interested ASUW will be in the budget, but that's really going to be my priority as a university employee for this session. Beyond the budget, there will be a number of bills. Now there should be fewer bills this year because it's a budget session than there are during a general session. The budget session has a higher threshold for introduction of the bills. And that higher threshold is supposed to try to keep those non-budget bills from taking up the time during a budget session. But there will still be quite a few non-budget bills. And that's where I'm assuming some of your interest may come in. And I was gonna bring a computer, but we didn't make it happen, so I apologize. But basically, the legislative website is www.wyoleg.gov, and that's where all the information about the legislature is. You can find anything you want to know there. One of the tabs will say 2020 bills or 2020 legislation. You click on that, and it has a list of all the bills that are have been posted by the House and all the bills that are posted by the Senate. You can go to that list and track that those bills throughout the entire process. And so it's a really good tool for people who are very interested in following the legislative process, but also informing the legislative process. So one thing Trey did ask me to get into was the work that you can all do if you do decide to go over and inform our legislature or work with our legislature or lobby, depending on how you want to say it. So it'll be a little bit different this year. Since I've been specifically lobbying, we've been over in the Jonah building while they've had the Capitol renovation. This will be the first year so basically they were in the Jonah building for 4 years. So now they're back in the Capitol building. And it's going to be a very different environment than I'm used to. And so it's going to be a little bit different. So if you are planning on coming over, I'll give you a couple just practical tips. Wear really comfortable shoes because there's stairs. They do have elevators, but they are not plentiful. So just be aware that you'll be walking a lot, especially if you're going to go lobby at the Senate and the House. You'll be walking across the Capitol, so just be aware. I always bring snacks because it never seems like I can leave, but you guys hopefully won't have to deal with that. There are several ways that you can take action or inform your legislators. You can email, you can call, and then you can have personal meetings. That's typically what you do when you come to Cheyenne to work with the legislature. Now during the day, depending on the day that you're there and depending on the bill or bills that you're interested in, we can work together to try to figure out what is the best use of your time. But you're typically going to do a couple things. One is that you can try to communicate with the member when they're on the floor, and that's basically you pass them a note, and then if they can leave the floor, they can come and speak to you. We've done that quite a bit with ASUW. And what we had done in the past is trying to keep the ASUW person with the legislator from wherever they are. For those of you that are out of state, you just get to pick your favorite legislator. So we just try to break it up among the different legislators and then pull them out, and then you talk, have your talking points that I'm sure that you guys will have organized before you come over. The other way you can communicate with legislators is through the committee process. Now, this is when a bill has already been introduced, and then it goes to the committee. The committees then act on the bill. So the committee can amend the bill, the committee can pass the bill, the committee can recommend that the bill not pass. It can do a number of different things. But that's where, if you want to have more substantive conversation, you can do it through the committee process. My preference is to try to communicate with legislators beforehand about big issues, but you probably won't have that opportunity just because of the timing of things. So the committee process is very important. Now, if you do decide that you are going to communicate at a committee, there are some specific rules, and these can be found on the legislative website that I told you about. And John, I can't remember if you were there when ASUW did speak at a committee meeting.
I spoke at the Joint Housing Task Force, but not necessarily the standing meeting.
Yes, so that's very similar. A few years ago, we did have ASUW students come and speak to a committee on a bill. They did very, very well. You guys make the university look so good, and I really appreciate it. So, just very quickly, I won't read all of these, but when you walk into a committee room, again, it's going to be different because we're in the Capitol now. But the room may be large, it may be small. For the smaller rooms, try to find the seat best you can, and then try not to be too distracting. They want you to sign the official attendance sheet. During public comment, the chairman of the committee will ask for public comment. Sometimes they'll have you sign the sheet before asking for public comment. That typically happens on the more controversial bills. So for instance, when guns were an issue a couple of years ago, the chairman circulated a sign-up sheet, and people signed up for which side they were on, and then the sides got a certain amount of minutes allocated to each. So just pay attention for that. Otherwise, informally, you just stand up when they say, is there public comment, and take turns. Once the chairman recognizes you, you're going to always address the chair, and you guys already have that down, I've noticed. So it's very similar. You address everything through the chair. So it's a little tricky when you go back and forth. So another senator who's not the chairman will ask you a question. You still say, Mr. Chairman, Senator Anselmi Dalton, yes, blah, 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 blah. And so that's the way it works. So it's a little bit, there is a senator named Anselmi Dalton. Just wanted to point that up. I'm assuming some relation to one of your senators. So that's a little bit quirky, but you guys won't have any issue with that. And then be civil. Again, I don't have to worry about that with you all. Several years ago, there were a couple committee meetings that got a little bit cantankerous, and so they've really pushed these rules of decorum. So they have decorum and civility during legislative meetings. I think they've always had these, but now the chairman will announce that they are, the committee will be abiding by these rules, and everybody who is at the committee meeting needs to be abiding by these rules. Very seldom do you have committee meetings where people are disrespectful, but it does occasionally happen. So just make sure you're not one of those people. Assuming that some of you become lobbyists or work with the legislature later on in your careers, my advice would be never be one of those people. You never gain in the long term. And again, these decorum and civility during legislative meetings, you can find it on that website, so I won't read it. But again, it's all set out there. So that's kind of what I was going to go over. When I think you'll work with Trey and John about logistics when you determine when you're going to go over there and what bills you're going to comment on. My advice, again, would be have talking points. You do not want 5 different people saying 5 different things. That's not helpful to your cause. So just be aligned. You can be, if you're organized, you understand the issue, that's going to get you a long way. And otherwise, help any way I can, both as ASUW representatives, but also individually. If you have any questions about legislation that you've heard about, if you have questions about it, you can email me and ask me, and I can tell you if the university's taking a position on it, or personally, if I know anything about it. I can also introduce you to legislators if you are interested in speaking to a legislator from wherever you are from. Anything I can do to help, please don't hesitate to contact me.
Are there any questions for our special event, Senator Milburn?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's quite a lot of legislation going through this budget sessions, and some of them are eliminating royalty accounts and getting rid of sub accounts and, you know, shifting them to new accounts and everything. So what is UW effect or planning on, you know, standing with all those legislators changing accounts and sub accounts and loyalty accounts?
That's a good question. The university is very careful of what legislation it does weigh in on. And while we have not had a conversation about that, I have not had a conversation about any of those bills with the president or with the trustees. I don't imagine that we will weigh in on those bills. If the bill doesn't specifically impact the university, it's hard for us to take a stance on it. We think that it's more of a policy decision for the legislative body. And that, again, without knowing specifically what bill you're referring to, I would guess we don't weigh in on that one.
I was referring to House Bill number 15, the school capital maintenance bill, where they are getting rid of the royalties account and they're shifting the sub account into the new school capital maintenance account.
So, force and pattern. I will re-look at that bill. If I'm remembering it correctly, I don't believe that bill impacts the university. The school, if it says specifically school fund, it could potentially involve the lab school, because that is a public school. But typically, those bills are really deal with the K through 12 system. We don't weigh in on those. But House Bill 15, I will re-look at it. So thank you for the heads up. And that's another thing. There is one person in my office, and it's me, and I read all the bills. I make the determination of whether those bills impact the university. I flag those. I try to farm them out to people who I think the experts are, get that feedback, and then take the communication to the legislature. It's very difficult to do. And so if you hear of a bill that you think is going to impact the university, please forward it to me and let me know. I've got other people in the executive team trying to flag bills as well. But like I said, we want to be over-inclusive rather than miss a bill that does have an impact to the university.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions?
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you in Cheyenne.
Senator Mulhall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to suspend the automatic bills.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. This motion is not debatable. All those in favor of suspending the Abernathy clause, please stand. Thank you. Please be seated. All those opposed? And abstentions. With a unanimous vote of 21 to 0 to 0, the Abernathy clause has been suspended. At this time, we'll now move on to funding board requests. Senator Mulhall, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So first, I will move to allocate $4,125 to students supporting veterans for their event combat board. Second.
The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Senator Mulhall, you have the floor to relay any pertinent information from the funding board.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We reviewed this request yesterday. We've held this event in the past for those of you who don't know. And really, the request was squared away. Everything was taken care of, and the committee thought that overall everything looked good and wanted to forward it on to the Senate. And so with that, I would just yield the floor to the representative from the RSO.
Hello, my name is Luke Cloud. I got my bachelor's here in electrical engineering, and I'm working on my PhD currently. I'm here today representing Students Supporting Veterans and Combat Color. Students Supporting Veterans is the only RSO that is veteran-centric on campus, and we welcome all those veterans and non-veterans alike, and our membership has been traditionally split between veterans and non-veterans. So Combat Color is our main philanthropic event of the year. It's a color run with a twist. You get to throw the color back, and then we ask you to wear camo to just support our veterans. It's like a combination of color tag and a 5K. We don't care if you run either. We have a walking portion that you can do. I created Combat Color while I was a student at Sheridan College while attending treatment at the Sheridan VA Medical Center, and I wanted to help others the way I was helped. So this year will actually mark the 9th Combat Color in Sheridan, so they've kept going since I've left, and then this will be the 5th here in Laramie. Collectively, we've raised over $75,000 for veteran causes in Wyoming and abroad, and $40,000 plus of that is raised here at UW. All of the proceeds go to benefit the Connor Montgomery Cloud Memorial Scholarship for Veterans, which is my past brother. We're actually a family that is ensconced in UW right now. I'm a PhD student. My sister just started her first year of law school, and my brother is a freshman. Combat Color is a complex event that allows many students to participate in the planning and execution, and it also raises awareness for veteran causes. Each year here in Laramie, we've had over 200 registrations and over 30 volunteers, and many of those, if not most, were students. In fact, last year we got a total of 200 student tickets paid for between the UWEFE and 7220 Entertainment. So that was completely paid for by the different organizations. When I say paid for, everybody can run for free if you're a student per ASUW policy, as well as children, and then they can purchase a registration packet. So that includes a t-shirt, pair of sunglasses, and color to throw. And so that will all be paid for with outside funding. As required, ASUW will be included in all advertisements, including all campus outlets, YOCAL, table toppers, sandwich boards, posters, banners, flyers, digital signage, flyers in town, radio stations, newspapers, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our webpage, and there's actually more. We are here today requesting, as was said, $4,125 out of a total budget of $6,710. The SSB will be paying the remaining $2,585 for the park that we use, shirts, truck renter, and color packets. This includes a required 15% match of $1,006.50. If passed, this will be the 5th year that the ASUW has supported Combat Color, and we thank you for your previous support and hope you support us again this year, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Any questions for the RSO? Thank you. Any other comments or discussion on this request? Seeing none, we'll now go ahead and move to a standing vote. So all those in favor of approving $4,125 for students supporting veterans Combat Color, please rise. Please be seated. All those opposed? And abstentions. So with a vote of 23 to 0 to 0, $4,125 has been approved.
Thank you.
Senator Roll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll now move to allocate $9,319 to the Central Asian Student Association for event.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Senator Roll, you have the floor to relay any pertinent information to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, you heard this request yesterday. And what you should know, first of all, is we allocated their $600 of outside funding to the gas line item and then to the utensils line item. And then the other thing that you should know, overall, this is an event that's happened in the past, and we've seen great success. Overall, the committee found that this event was put together well, budget put together well. There was some issues in acquiring funding, the rest of the outside funding to meet the 15% at the end. But talking to the RSO, it looks like there's going to be no problem in getting that last little bit of funding to make sure they meet the 15% mark. But really quickly, I just wanted to take this as an opportunity to let you know of some coming changes, possibly in regards to funding board requests to consider as we kind of move forward. And that is that with the outside funding, we've seen RSOs kind of start to struggle, and particularly in this semester, have started to struggle in acquiring the amount of outside funding needed for their events for a couple of reasons. One reason is that some departments and schools just don't have the resources available at this time like they might have in other years. Another reason is that it seems like those departments that did have funding might have less and might have allocated a lot of that during fall semester to RSOs already. So now those funds aren't there. Thankfully, with CASA, it looks like we've been able to work out and get to where we need to be, but we hope that as we move forward in the future, we'll draft some legislation that will make that a little bit more flexible and easier on RSOs when the resources just aren't as available or abundant as in normal time. All of that being said, again, we overall really liked the event and do recommend that it get funded. So with that, I will yield the floor to the representative from the RSO.
Good evening, dear Senate. If you don't hear me, please let me know. My name is Elmaz. I'm a PhD candidate in the College of Education, and this is the bar, and I'm also the president of Central Asian Student Association, but the bar is the vice president of Student Association.
Yeah, I'm Dilbar. I'm the vice president of the CASA, and I'm a Southeast student from Azerbaijan. So yeah, I'm president-elect
For next year.
for next year.
Yeah. So a little bit about Central Asian Student Association. We have been active for 7 years. I didn't realize yesterday I was talking about 5 years. It happened like 7 years. And we're really thankful to you because this event happened because of you. And partially we try to be thankful to the university, and Central Asian organization is the one who actually created the core language and culture program on campus. If you are aware, if you're not aware, please try to attend. There are free language classes offered to the campus, community, and right now we're working via Zoom to involve the whole Wyoming. So with that, we're celebrating cultural event on April 4th, and we would like to invite 3 main guests. One of them is the main actor. We hosted him like 3 years ago. He wants to come back because he's writing a book about influenced people of the United States and Central Asia. And he kind of pitched a little bit himself. He wants to include University of Wyoming in his book as a thank you note. So we'd like to invite him. And also, I feel like he is a big, we call him encyclopedia. He brings a lot of good information because this event is not only cultural event, but also educational event. And this year, our theme is Western and Central Asian culture. So I see a couple of pups here who will be performing in our event as well. So we want to kind of like combine Wyoming style and Central Asian style together. So we'd like to have you all. And then the second guest is our annual. She has been here for 5 years. Her name is Amira Salam, and she's from Central Asia. She's a citizen of the United States now. She has moved, but she was one of the gamer dancers. So she brings her costumes and everything. So she supports our event, doesn't charge us, so we're thankful for that. And our third person who couldn't make it last year, and we really appreciate your help with paying her ticket, although she couldn't make it because her mom passed away during our event, and then in a week her dad passed away. So she's very thankful, and she's coming back this year and wants to perform in all 5 languages. For those of you who are not familiar about Central Asia, it consists of 5 countries: Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. All their stans, but they're not related to Afghanistan or Pakistan. People are confused a little bit. So we would like to kind of expand, talk about those countries and how they're close to China, Russia, and those countries. So basically, we're bringing a musical show, or trying to bring our cuisine, our languages. We're also trying to, as much as we can, provide Kazakh, Uzbek, and Turkmen and Tajik languages on campus as well. So I think I talked a lot about that. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you. Any questions for the RSO? Senator Insolvestead?
Thank you, Sir Chair. So just to get like kind of broad overview, what exactly is the event? Like I know you're bringing these 3 people, but like where is the event located and stuff like that?
The event is going to be in the ballroom here on campus, and it's to bring, as we know, students in Wyoming do not travel a lot, and especially to those countries like Central Asia. We try to bring that picture here on campus, and I see people here from your directors and the president as well. So they have been attending our events. So it's kind of like more seeing Central Asia here in Wyoming if you have never been traveling. And so that's the answer.
I was just wondering if it was to create a dialogue or something. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but the guest speaker, the actor will be a guest speaker who will be talking about and providing more information. And he's actually doing a film about the University of Wyoming. He did a lot of recruiting for us a couple of years ago. A lot of students started contacting, and we actually have 3 more students. Embassy of the United States in Uzbekistan sent 3 students that was paid by the Department of State to be an exchange student here on campus.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sir Chair.
And then just very quickly about the note that we couldn't make the 15% we tried to do every year, and I was the one only, I think in 2013, who voted for 30% bringing from RSO the money as much as we can to help the ASUW. But this year, I think the problem is that the money is spent in fall, and then also the new deans, they sometimes do not know about the events. They're spending for their departments, and we couldn't make it, but it looks like we at least that we will be able to do 15%. Yeah.
Thank you. Senator Baker?
I was just wondering when the event will occur.
April 4th on Saturday.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Any other questions for the RSO? Ex-officio from first year center?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering approximately how many people have attended in years past?
We have a survey and we have all the paperwork, so we usually host like for as much as we can for 250 officially because we get money for that. But it looks like we do more, and we try to invite more people. Like our doors are open, so yeah, more than 250.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any final questions? Seeing none, we'll now go ahead and take a vote. So all those in favor of any other comments on the discussion?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So all those in favor of allocating $9,314 to the Central Asian Students Association, $9,319 to the Central Asian Students Association dinner, please rise. Please be seated. Any opposed and abstentions? So with a vote of 23 to 0 to 0, $9,319 has been approved. Senator Mohal, the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quick before I do this request, I'm going to use the floor. Y'all have access to all of these applications through the bio courses. So please, please, please look at them before meetings. If you didn't know that, they're on their files coming toward the Senate meetings 2020. Super important that you look at those before meetings. I know there wasn't any discussion, like not usually any discussion. That does concern me a little bit. So if there's no discussion because people aren't looking, I think that's unacceptable. So you need to look beforehand and make sure that you're making fully aware fiduciary decisions. Because when the requests come to the Senate, it's because they're over a particular amount of money, and therefore the thought was that more people needed to weigh in on that decision to make a really informed decision for the student body. So please, 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 please look at the applications before the Senate. Now we move on. If you need to, open up the Cowboy Country Swing Club application on your computer if you haven't seen it. And I would move to allocate $5,008.75 to Cowboy Country Swing Club.
Second.
Motion's been properly The motion has been properly moved and seconded. Senator Mohall, you have the floor to relay any pertinent information to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The overall recommendation of the committee, again, was to recommend that this event be funded. I'm just pulling up my file to make sure I tell you the right thing.
Point of clarification, the number established in the board was $5,008.75.
I really thought it was right. Okay. Alright, I just had to remember where their outside funding was coming from, so I didn't tell you a lie. Cause it's not on their budget, but we worked out with them, to make sure that they're fitting within our finance policy since they are at $5,000. So we worked out and they have the money in their foundation account to pay for that, 15% of the over $3,500. I just wanted to make sure I told you the correct information about where that was coming from. Other than that, again, committee thought this was a worthwhile event from an RSO that's had great and successful events in the past. And with that, I would just yield the floor to the representative of the RSO.
Hi, I am the current treasurer for Powder Country Swing Club, and we are hoping to host Austin Walhart. He is a somewhat known country singer. I'm not an expert on country music. And we are hoping to host this event on April 9th. We think that it's a great event because we tend to have a lot of turnout when we have concerts. We tend to have around 500 people, 500 students show up for concerts. And it being somewhat close to finals, we think that it might be a stress reliever, something fun to do before finals. And yeah.
Are there any questions for the RSO? Now we'll move on to discussion. Are there any other comments or questions on this request? Seeing none, we'll now move into another standing vote. So all those in favor of allocating $5,008.75, please rise. Thank you. Please be seated. All those opposed and abstentions. So with a vote of 23-0, we've allocated $5,008.75 to Cowboy Country Swing Club. Thank you. At this time, we'll now move on to communications, beginning with President Wilkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senators. First up, my report. Alright.
Well, I mean, I have permission to leave it on this way.
So before I go into my report, I'm going to continue my whole question of the day thing, because I think that's fun. So this week's question is, if you could have any animal pocket size, what animal would you choose? Start with Senator Welch.
Probably a koala.
I don't know, any animal. It's my choice.
I'll go with a panda.
Maybe it's ironic given my name, but a little cat.
I mean, mystical makes sense because you know it can be a real box size animal. So let's just go wide. Imagination.
Big baby guy.
Bear.
Kind of bear.
Grizzly bear.
I was also going to say dragon, like from Harry Potter.
Wider.
I was also gonna say giraffe.
Tasmanian devil.
Elephant.
Elephant. Elephant.
Raccoon. Snow leopard.
Dog.
Sea otter.
Okay, what grizzly bears? Back here?
Flash
Aw.
Alright. Jumped on my report, no thanks, I hope you all enjoy this video, you know, and I guess our few rules. So yesterday we had a chance to meet with our strategic partners, kind of go over, last semester, kind of talk some plans for this semester, so that was a great conversation. I'm getting prepared for the budget hearing, because that's before this week, and we're going to BMP on that last big day for presidential recommendations. So in terms of the presidential search timeline, I've been up since like 5:30 this morning, had to be over at the Gateway Center all day doing those interviews. I will say I can't divulge a lot of information, but each candidate did have students in mind, which I think is super important. Some of them asked specific questions for myself and Senator Mulhall, who snuck out because we have to be back there early tomorrow morning again. But that's a really cool experience, and I'm glad that they're allowing us in on that. And then next week I will be down in Denver for a couple days to do some of those interviews as well in person. These interviews are remote over Zoom, which can have its challenges. You know, Zoom's not always the most friendly. It's really hard to hear people sometimes. I'll be working with VP Chestnut to help decide kind of with their budget proposal. They'll be proposing their budget through the normal avenues through their college, but they've asked for our support to know why we think it's important that they get more money as well. And in the name of mental health, the counseling center has also reached out as they're a little short on funds. They're having some budget reductions, and so there's a couple things that they are looking to have funded. So I had a conversation with Dwight Gill, who's over there, the director. That was a really good conversation, and it's one of those years again where we have an unspent salary, so that might be something we look into as well. That's about all I have. I'll be out of the office again tomorrow, but I'll be checking email throughout the day, so if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And I'll be back in Thursday and Friday. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Chief of Legislative Affairs, Wilderslund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to let you know that this semester the deadline for legislation is going to be Fridays at 10 a.m. That's just so it can be in before steering and whatnot. My office hours are Monday from 2 to 5 in the afternoon, Tuesday from 12 to 5, Wednesday from 2 to 5, Thursday 12 to 5, and then Fridays 2 to 5. You can find those all on the website. If you need anything, if I can be of any assistance, please let me know. I will be sending out a doodle-poll to steering tomorrow, so please, if you're on steering, please look out for that and fill it out as soon as possible, so we can potentially find a new meeting time that works for everyone. We just set 12:01 because I sent out the doodle-poll over break, and that's what worked with the people who did fill it out at the time. And lastly, we had 2 more vacancies in arts and sciences open up today. We will again exhaust that list of write-ins, and then most likely have to do a special election, but those might have to be ending soon, just with elections deadlines and whatnot. But if you know interested people, all of the special elections are up on our social media pages, so encourage them to apply, because we currently have 9 vacancies, I believe. So that's big. Is there any questions? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So for my report, we had our first meeting back for our university-wide census committee that ASUW is kind of taking the lead on. And because we found it pretty difficult to try and send out doodle polls every single time for the 20+ members that are on that committee, we've now set a time that has worked for kind of our core members. So we're really looking for some more student representation, especially from our senators. So if any of you can make it, we're meeting bi-weekly now. So our next meeting is going to be the 17th of this month at 8 in the morning in the ASUW conference room. We really appreciate it if we could get some more senator feedback and some help with that. And along with that, we're going to be having a lot of educational opportunities and programming over the next few months with the census. There will be great opportunities for all of you to fulfill service hours. So at any point, if that's something you're interested in, we'll make sure to make those available to all of you. Something we've been working on over the last week is our veteran priority registration status. So we've heard from a few veterans who have this semester contacted our Veteran Services Center and ASUW, who after they have used their benefits afforded to them by the federal government are no longer able to get priority registration. And so for a lot of students, especially those with families and other work obligations that take precedent, it's pretty difficult to not be able to craft that schedule from the get-go right when registration opens. So we're working to resolve this. We've been working with Chris Boswell and AVP Moore, and we're hoping for a semi-quick resolution to this issue. But if that's something you're interested in working with us on, let me know. I sat down with President Theobald this morning. Unfortunately, President Wilkins couldn't make it because of the search committee. We talked about the upcoming budget and the upcoming legislative session, but he is going to be here in 2 weeks as our special event, so that's the 18th. I would really appreciate it if all of you now started preparing questions, because we want to make sure that we're as engaging as possible for his time here. So please come with some good questions for him. We really appreciate it. We submitted our budget request for the legislative branch, and we'll be giving our presentation this Thursday. We did struggle a little bit to get feedback from members of the Senate, so I hope you're all happy with what we came up with. But of course we can talk about that as our budget process is going on. On that note, as you can all tell, this is a pretty empty Senate chambers tonight. We're now up to 9 vacancies. As our Chief of Legislative Affairs said, those openings that are in education, health sciences, and engineering all have applications out. Please tell your friends or anyone who you think would be good at this body, at this table, to apply, because we're really looking to fill these spots as soon as possible. And with that, Supervisor Lozano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Senators.
Good evening.
I just wanted to give a quick update on where we're at with our review of the SLS program. We are at a point where we are about to submit some research findings to Vice President Chestnut and the intervenor students, Ryan O'Neill. From there, we will take any recommendations there to work with President Wilkins to sort of craft a plan that we would take to the Office of General Counsel as far as restructuring that program. The final step would then be to bring it to this body for approval from the Senate. So as we look at restructuring student legal services, just know that we definitely want to keep the student voice as a part of that. We wouldn't do anything without Senate approval. So if any of the senators are interested in joining in on some of that research or learning what we've done so far after we make our recommendation to VP Chestnut, we'd be happy to welcome any and all of you that are interested in that. We have had a rather significant speed bump in that process, in that our interim attorney has resigned. She is now starting her own real estate practice, and so we once again are without a student legal services attorney. So currently, if you are speaking with any students who are looking for those services, we're referring everybody to the legal aid clinics at the law school, and hopefully by the end of this administration, we'll have a recommendation moving forward so that we have something in place permanently in the upcoming fiscal year. So, like I said, pretty significant roadblock there, but we definitely have all of the research done, and we're excited about the ways in which we can free up some student fee dollars to give back to this body to utilize in different ways. So, other than that, I'm kind of in and out of the office this week. As you may or may not know, I'm the co-chair of MLK Days of Dialogue, so pretty busy with all of that. Also, if I'm not there, our Associate Director in Cecil, Eric Kale, accidentally received a new massage chair, which is down in the Campus Activity Center. So if you want to come check out the massage chair, stop on by. With that, I'll take any questions you have.
Senator Romano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How come accidentally received a massage chair?
That's a great story, and apparently Mr. Kale has this happen to him quite a bit. So it was addressed to somebody in Kentucky, and then somebody had put an X on that, and then another label was put on saying that it was consigned to Eric Kale at the University of Wyoming. He called Amazon after he couldn't find any receipts or anything that showed that it was purchased by us, and they said, oh yeah, our mistake, it costs way too much for you to ship it back to us because we have to pay for that, so just keep it. So, free massage chair.
Thank you. Any other questions for Advisor Lozano?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We'll now move on to ex officio reports, beginning with first year Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess vacancies are in the air because the first year Senate also had 2 vacancies open up in this past meeting. Our applications are open, I believe there's 2 applications so far, and they will close, I believe, Friday. So if you know anyone who's interested or qualified, just let them know and we can send them an application. Let's see. Additionally, we had we had a special event. Jeremy M. Davis from Cecil speaking to us today about his dissertation studies, and he's looking for qualified student leaders to participate in his dissertation. So if anyone's interested in that, you can talk to him down at the Cecil office. And there are certain advantages, like I believe for participating in his study and his dissertation, you get a certification and also a free textbook on leadership that could help expand your leadership capabilities, I suppose. And finally, I believe when I finalize it, my office hours will be Thursday from 12 to 1. So if you ever have a reason to speak to me then, that would be the time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And on that note, I do want to thank all the first year senators who are in the gallery. There are many of them. And so I think we should appreciate their commitment to these galleries. Thank you all for being here. Interfraternity Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
Thank you. Non-traditional Students Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We just went and had our budget hearing today, and we asked for a lot more money, so hopefully that will get approved, mainly to fund our annual Easter egg hunt and food for our meetings and things like that. As well as in the fall, right before finals week, we had our fall semester de-stressor event where we gave away a laptop, and we had some bookstore gift cards, and it was a very successful event. We had about 70 individuals, and some students did bring their families. We had kids, and we took our games over to Half Acre and had a really great evening. Got our name out, and so hopefully this semester we'll have a lot more attendance at our regular meetings, as well as a successful Easter egg hunt in April. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Sustainability Coalition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're still currently working on bringing industrial composting to the university. We're just waiting on sort of movement with City Council to bring them into the fold. We're planning a lot of events for Earth Day, making it into an Earth Week kind of thing. And we're still working on addressing food insecurity on campus by trying to open up some more food pantries across campuses in different colleges. So, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Student Athlete Advisory Committee.
We'll be having our first meeting of the semester next week, I believe, to discuss our events for the semester in the West East. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to committee reports, beginning with steering. So steering did meet this past Friday. We only had one bill submitted that will be up for first reading, and we took a look at that and steered it. And then we are also trying to find a new time. 2 of the senators on the steering committee, as well as the first year steering committee liaison, are not able to make the time that we set. So we're currently looking at alternatives. Other times we could possibly meet to accommodate the rest of our committee members. Advocacy, diversity, and policy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We didn't meet this week. We have no legislation, but we instead just had a conversation about some cultural shifts that we'd like to see in ASUW and first year Senate, and possibly seeing how we can get more involvement like there is tonight. So if any of you are interested in being a part of that conversation, just email me. Thank you.
Thank you. Budget planning.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if anybody could tell, but budgets are in the air. And so budget planning, starting to work on the budget. Today was the first round of 3 rounds that we had. Today we heard from non-traditional student council, first year Senate, and the elections committee. Tomorrow we will hear from the homecoming committee, business office, and student legal services. And finally on Thursday, BMP will hear from the legislative branch, UMC, judicial council, IFC, Panhellenic, RSO funding board, the executive branch, and finally Aztec. On that note, if you are on budget and planning, please check your Outlook calendar to check to see what time the budget hearings are and where they are. Lastly, the ASUW Senatorial Scholarship ends at the end of this fiscal year on June 30th, so if we do want to plan on doing that, we do need to look further into that. I will be working with the executive branch and other senators with BMP as it comes to the scholarship and different ideas coming forward. And if it's okay, I'll yield for questions if there are any. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Program and institutional development.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So PID met today and we wrapped up our discussion of the strategic plan. Every target in the strategic plan has been assigned as a task to a committee member. And our goal is to at least have the ball rolling on every performance indicator by the end of this term. So we will be reaching out to AD&P and SOC to work on some of those targets together.
Thank you. Arson Funding Board. Would anyone like to give the report in place of Senator Wall? Anything you know?
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Chair.
Senator Bradon.
RSF Funding Board met yesterday and approved Wyoming Motorsports Competition for $1,250. The Chinese New Year's event for $5,018, which of course got approved earlier tonight. National Society of Black Engineers Conference. And yeah, that was it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Student outreach and programming.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we met Friday for the first time this semester and experienced that meeting. Hopefully we get the conference room back. So we're working towards that Friday. And then we discussed student outreach week and so we're really excited about that and we have a lot of different ideas. We're really looking forward to collaborating with AD&P and having a great meeting this week. And we set new goals for the semester kind of and discussed sustainability first. I'm really excited to be partners.
And I already addressed Cowboy Count. I'll just reiterate again, our next meeting is the 17th, and we'd love to have some senators show up, just to really increase that student representation, because as of right now, it is a lot of administration on campus, so full-time employees in the president's office, for institutional marketing, athletics, RLDS, a lot of different areas of campus, and so we'd love to see more of that student-centered approach to how we're going to get the accurate count here in the American community. So with that, we'll move on to college contact reports, beginning with agriculture and natural resources.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So something kind of fun coming up is the High Plains Organic Food Conference in Cheyenne. Just a nice little conference. I actually went last year with Acre Student Farm. If anybody's interested, there are ways for students to get free tickets. I think it's usually like $50, so it's a good deal. There is food provided. Another thing, there's a poster contest, so people present their research. If anybody knows anyone doing research in plant sciences, animal sciences, botany even, get in contact with me and I can share that information with Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Arts and sciences.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
Thank you. College of Business.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The College of Business has a featured presentation with Human Theory, is effective equities created this Friday from 9 to 10:30 a.m. in the College of Business auditorium. And then also I held my first office hour yesterday from 1 to 2 p.m. in the ASUW. Thank you.
Thank you. College of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Engineering and Applied Sciences.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
College of Health Sciences.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are looking for two new senators to fill some vacancies because we're at half capacity right now. So if you know anybody in health science that looks like they can participate, that would be great. You can send them my contact information and I'll help them.
Thank you. College of Law.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No report.
And School of Energy Resources.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So our SCR speaker series is starting up again for this semester, so we will have a guest speaker at 12 p.m. on Friday in the Encana Auditorium, and it will be, he will be discussing on development towards an economically viable process for the dealing with rare earth elements and coal.
Thank you. There is no old business. We'll move straight to new business tonight and move to begin with Senate Bill 2689, the creation of strategic partnership with the Sustainability Coalition. Senator St. Louis, will you please proceed with the first reading?
Whereas the purpose of the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, ASUW, student government is to serve our fellow students in the best manner possible, and whereas University Regulation 11-5, ASUW student government allows for the ASUW student government to establish programs, services, and operations that benefit and promote the general welfare of the students in the university. And whereas Senate Bill 2522 created a strategic partnership within ASUW student government, and whereas the ASUW student plan moving forward 2018 through 2022 outlines the 2022 target of forming, well, two new programs, services, or strategic partners, and whereas Addendum A provides the Sustainability Coalition's goals for a partnership, and whereas these goals will align with the work that the ASUW student government has either already begun working on or has identified as important to the various platforms of the 107th administration, and whereas there has been constant interaction and collaboration between the ASUW student government and Sustainability Coalition for multiple years, therefore be it enacted by the Associated Students of the University of Wyoming, ASUW student government, that the ASUW student government approves the creation of a strategic partnership with the Sustainability Coalition, and therefore be it further enacted that the ASUW bylaws be amended to reflect the addition of the Sustainability Coalition as strategic partners as outlined in Addendum B, and therefore be it further enacted that these changes take effect immediately upon passage.
Thank you. This bill was dual steered to steering and program of institutional development, so please have your committee recommendations next Tuesday, where there will be up for second and third reading. We'll then move on to announcements. Does anyone have announcements? Advisor Lozano?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I mentioned earlier, I'm one of the co-chairs for MLK Days of Dialogue. We're really excited about the keynote events that we have for this season, or for this year. So Thursday night at 7 p.m. we have Mark Willis. Mark is a UW alum. He played football here and was an extra in the movie Black Panther. He will be discussing not only Black Panther, but other things that he thinks are relevant and we think are going to be a pretty cool thing. Also, Keenan Montgomery will be doing a rap performance after Mark's keynote speech down in the gardens. This is Studio Wild's contribution, so these are our partners in Aztec that are helping put on this show. Keenan's music is on Spotify. You can check him out under Keenan the First. I've been listening to it all week trying to get ready, so it should be pretty cool. And then on Friday, we will be showing Black Panther and the movie Us. And Mark will also be stopping by to watch Black Panther. So pretty cool events. Please check them out. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Trent?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I'm social chair. Next week, we will, at our meeting during processing, just as a heads up, be doing our social event because you're all required to be here, so then we'll have participation. It'll be probably 15 to 20 minutes, probably 10 to 15 minutes actually, 15 minutes max, and it'll be super fun. So look forward to that next week during processing. And then we'll also have an event also in March, but next week I'll tell you about it more during processing, but get prepared for that, and hopefully the suspense fills. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Okay, we'll move on to processing. Any comments under processing? President Wilkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I won't be able to attend Senate next Tuesday. I'll have to head down to Denver that afternoon for the interviews. The Sustainability Coalition does plan to be here to do some discussion on the bill. But if you have any questions about kind of what that's going to entail in terms of partnership and what that looks like, feel free to reach out to me before next Tuesday. I'm trying to answer those and meet with you before I leave, but I won't be here on Tuesday night, so if you have any further questions, get them before then. Thank you.
Any other comments under processing? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.